This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. Normally, I do this around certain holidays just to inform people who listen to my channel of what's really going on, what these holidays are really about. But everybody should know, since most of you are on this journey of a massive awakening, that all holidays at their core are pagan. Now, when we talk about Easter, it's very important that people understand that I am not condemning people out there who celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And I understand how this whole system psychologically has affected all of us. Okay, we all grew up around these holidays. We relied on our parents to raise us, not to worship or be involved in pagan holidays. But again, they didn't know any better either. And a lot of us got inundated with these holidays and these traditions that are not traditions of God. So if you still want to wake up on Christmas morning or on Easter morning and spend time with your family, just remember what the day should be about. But what the day's really about, and the traditions of these days, are traditions of men. These are pagan traditions that are all cloaked in Satanism. From Christmas to Valentine's Day to Easter, all of them. None of them have anything really to do with Jesus Christ. The dates don't even line up. Christmas specifically, Saturnalia, doesn't even line up biblically with the birth of Christ. However, I'm not condemning the audience out there. I want you to know exactly what it's about so you can have an understanding about these holidays that they've duped people into celebrating. They really are trying to inadvertently get you to worship their pagan gods, or we shouldn't even call them pagan. They're satanic gods like Baal. Okay, and usually around these holidays, I cover these topics because I always gain momentum and gain new subscribers so I could educate them on things like the pagan traditions as well as signs and symbols, human sacrifice, because that's really what revolves around these holidays. Now, again, if you're somebody out there, they get so defensive. This is part of the mechanism that's been ingrained in humans. They've really realized how to maximize the worst in human behavior through the things that they're integrating in their day-to-day lives. And now we're seeing humans so enhanced to be so defensive of everything. It's very hard for them to wrap their heads around this stuff. So again, I just want to make it clear, I'm not condemning anyone. And some of you will say, no, you should condemn. Well, if somebody wants to wake up today and celebrate the resurrection of Christ, I say you should be doing that every single day. So if today's a day you set aside with your children to celebrate it, to educate them on the Bible, go ahead and do that. But just understand all the other crap, all the other stuff from Easter eggs, which might seem cute, which might seem fun for your friends to post pictures all over Instagram of this stuff. It's all cloaked in pagan tradition. So let's start with the real meaning of Easter. Easter is the celebration of Ishtar. That's right, Ishtar, Easter Ishtar, who is an Assyrian and Babylonian goddess of fertility and sex. Okay, her symbols are the egg and the bunny. And these are obviously the symbols that we all see that are marketed to us on Easter. And again, the reason that a lot of these pagan holidays, the solstices, have become normalized with Christianity goes back to Constantine and pretty much the merging of pagan traditions with celebrating Christian holidays, right? Or what we look at as Christian days of celebration or days of observance, right? So Easter is based off of Ishtar, okay? And the reason that it's placed where it is because during the Easter time period, the celebration ritual, these people would engage in what they call orgies. So they would all get together. And this is stuff that they still do to this day. They do it all the time. But they engage in these massive orgies. Okay, and what would happen during these is these witches and these Satanists, because that's what they really are, would impregnate these women. So that 9 months from that time period, because if you look at a calendar, 9 months later is Saturnalia, is more time of worship for Baal. So the purpose of the holiday was so that these women in these covens could get impregnated and then 9 months later commit the ultimate sacrifice to Baal on Christmas. That is the whole purpose of the holidays, why they line up the way that they do. Now, if we go back to Ishtar and who Ishtar is Ishtar is a manifestation. Ishtar's other names go by Asherah, as well as Ashtoreth and Astarte. Okay, so when we look up, well, who is Asherah? Asherah in paganism, or in the practice of the occult, really, was believed to be Baal's mother. Okay, so she was believed to be Baal's mother. So Ishtar, really, if you wrap it up in a nutshell, is really viewed as the mother of Baal. So when we look at this entire holiday, this entire fabrication of what we're supposed to believe is really a celebration of the resurrection of Christ, which is what it should be, you have to remember a lot of verses in the Bible that condemn Baal worship. And of course, we know the wicked worship Baal. In Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 5, they have built also the high places of Baal to burn their sons with fire, to burn offerings unto Baal, which I commanded not, nor spoke it, neither came it into my mind. Okay, so this holiday, like every other holiday, revolves around the same stuff: Baal worship, right? Remember I talked about Valentine's Day, for any of you that may have seen my video on that, now scraped off the internet. On Valentine's Day, talking about the heart symbol and the correlation between that holiday specifically and Baal. All these holidays you will find have a connection to Baal worship, and ultimately all these holidays are indeed satanic. But again, I'm not the kind of person who condemns people. I'm not even, some people say I'm a ministry. I don't know what I am. A guy who talks into a microphone at this point. Nobody even listens anymore. But I still try to get the word out on these topics for people who do stumble upon the channel, so that they understand, okay, that there's going to be a lot of ministers who celebrate it, and then there's going to be a lot that condemn people who do. And I'm not going to condemn people who celebrate the resurrection of Christ. So for anybody out there who writes Happy Resurrection Day to you indeed. But anybody out there that writes or thinks that, I'm going to go sit on the Easter Bunny's lap this year, well, you're mistaken. But I'm sure some of you, obviously, unfortunately, have been duped into some of these traditions because, again, we all grew up pretty much the same. No matter what time period you're from, whether you're in your 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s at this point, okay, these are all things that we've been accustomed to, right? Our parents raised us around these holidays. We all thought that they were Christian holidays when we were raised in these holidays, because most of us were raised Christian. And if you weren't, you obviously still didn't know the significant meaning behind it. And then, of course, as you grow older, it becomes very hard to separate from the holidays because they're reminders of you of good times, right? Especially at a time. This is another thing that I talk about with psychology, the regression of adults acting as children, right? A lot of this stuff I've talked about where adults start behaving like kids again, collecting toys they collected as kids. This is all a part of everything that's going on in the world, because psychologically, people are regressing because of all the confrontation, all the conflict that the government is pushing down people's throats on a day in and day out basis. So during periods like this, a lot of people remember better times. They remember growing up innocently. And of course, a lot of people will look at it and they'll be like, well, I didn't do those things on Easter. I just ate candy and collected eggs. Well, I'm not going to pass judgment on you for that, because obviously you didn't know any better. And if you still want to do that, that's between you and God. That's not between you and me. But my job, or at least what I try to do on this channel, is educate you on these things. They've duped all of us. And it is everything. It's not even just about holidays they've duped us with. It's about everything. And we're talking about history. We're talking about, on a day in, day out basis, the news that they show us, which isn't real, which is scripted news. They continually dupe us. And unfortunately, the whole goal that they have behind cloaking these holidays with Christianity was to dupe Christians. Just like everything else we see, they're duping Christians with Trump. They're duping Christians with the conservative party. That's what it's about. It's a war on Christianity. The Bible tells us that. That's why, again, the only thing they ever talk about, the only religion, so to speak, that they question, the only God that they go after is the King of Kings. You never hear them mention anyone other than Jesus Christ, because, of course, that would be considered hate speech. But for Christianity, it's perfectly fine, because that's the only threat to them. The only threat to Satan is the only one who could actually save souls, and that is Jesus Christ. So I just wanted to do a video out there so people had an understanding of what the holiday's about. Ishtar is really what the holiday is celebrated. This is what they celebrate is Ishtar, who is Ashira. Okay, and what they do on this holiday is they have massive orgies and they impregnate one another, which is something that they do on a regular basis, like a scene out of Rosemary's Baby, so to speak. And then around 9 months from now falls Saturnalia, where they do the actual sacrifice offering to Baal. Okay, and again, Asherah, who is Ishtar, is also the mother of Baal. Those are the keynotes to remember. But again, no judgment passed on anyone who's celebrating the resurrection of our King. But as I said earlier, we should be celebrating that on a day in and day out basis because it's truly the only truth in this world and the only truth that actually matters. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.